Really appreciate everyone being here for the tips for starting a hydroponics program, and really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules in this very unique time, and really appreciate you for what you're doing and your interest in this topic. Just to kind of get you into what we're talking about is all of our curriculum that we are going to talk about today is online. It is free to use, and it's kind of with our COVID-19 response and how we're trying to help and work with you as educators. So in this case here, want to walk you through that, what you can do. So what you need to do in this case is, as we talk about the hydroponics curriculum that we offer, you can go and you click on the Learn More. And when you click on the Learn More, it's going to come up to resources, including our webinars, some lessons on career exploration and soft skill development. But where you're going to want to go is our guides and curriculum. And when you click on that, it then takes you into all of our different product lines that we offer, and it has our curriculums in there. And so what, in this case, our hydroponics and plant science, you'll go down to the plant producer and plant lab educational hydroponic systems, and that will bring you in to our curriculum and slideshow downloads, allowing you to be able to view all of those features there that you are kind of looking for in that sense. So if that is something that you would like, the curriculum, it's right there on our website for you to go in, download, and be able to use at this time, kind of as our COVID-19 response. So with that being said, it also has our user guides for our hydroponic system, so you can look at them, see kind of what is all involved there, if that is something that you are looking to go forward. So with being said, as we start this hydroponics world presentation in the world we're in right now, we always say, you know, to remember social distancing. So like the plants, they need a certain amount of space to grow well. We hope that you will continue to do that as we continue to find ways to get back to our normalcy. So with that being said, let's get started. So what we're going to talk about today is in our I guess what I would say is, hydroponically speaking, is really three main focuses. We're going to talk about understanding on the importance of hydroponics and why it would be something you'd want to bring in to your educational experience. Then we're going to kind of go in and view 5 steps to starting a program and some things for you to think about if you started. Now, for some of you, maybe you already have a program started, so this might be something that you've already walked through, or maybe there's something in here that you look to in the next year or so that you could be moving into where you may want to look at, okay, how do we do it a little different? And then we'll finish off with learning about the hydroponics curriculum and our educational systems that we have here at Reality Works that might be a fit for you. So starting with the 5 key reasons for hydroponics. So the first one is really, a lot of times it's a limited space issue. Some cases it's that thing of, I want to grow different produce, I want to grow something, but you may not have the space to do it. A lot of times in school settings, you may not have a ability to use you know, a lot of land resource, and so it's going to be a difficult thing to be able to grow. Maybe you just don't have the ability, or another piece is in certain areas, especially cities, there just isn't that location in some schools to actually use a large footprint to be able to grow different produce. And so this allows people to grow in a limited space, as well as right in your classroom, right in areas that maybe you never thought you could actually do it. In cases with our hydroponic systems, we have people who have been interested in looking at this from, you know, states like Alaska, where they don't have sunlight full year. They don't have the warm weather to be able to grow a lot of times. So in this case, it allows you to be able to grow in a dark, you know, basement with no lights or with no windows whatsoever, because of the type of growing that hydroponics allows you to do. Another opportunity here is the ability to use it because it's clean and efficient, in the sense of hydroponics farming is a very clean type of growing system. Again, you're using water, you're not using soil, you're using artificial lighting, you're using artificial wind sources, and so and then you're using water, and so really it's a opportunity for you to even do some organic type growing. It allows you to do it very efficiently, and grow on and we'll talk about this a little later, but in a manner that is very that can reduce the amount of time for it to be harvested. So it's something also to where, and what we call is the closed environments for year-round growing. Again, kind of going back to the weather is a big piece of growing and the growing seasons in the United States and around the world. And when you use hydroponics, it really changes your world where you can now have a closed environment. You don't have to worry if it's going to rain or not every day. You don't have to worry if the sun's going to come out. You are creating that opportunity with your system, and that allows you to always kind of know what the system's going to do. And so those variables are taken away, and that can be very helpful for thinking of and using a hydroponic world. Another opportunity is this one really hits home, I think, right now, as we are seeing issues with, and in the United States right now with COVID-19 and other issues, is this food shortage, or the worry, concern of food shortage that is happening. It may not actually, we may not have seen it in certain areas, but there's a concern that this could be a problem. Hydroponic farming can allow and help this food shortage. Again, with this kind of situation, you can do it very, very cleanly. You can do it in a sense where you don't have an environmental factor. You can do it in a warehouse, in pretty much any location, as long as you have electricity, you have the nutrients and the water, you're able to then start growing. And so again, this takes away some of that concern that could come and that reliability on sources from far away. This allows you to do it very close to home or in your home, and allow you to get those different types of foods that you may want or may need. Another piece of this is just the ability for not only the weather and where it is, but especially in schools and a lot of teachers who are looking at this, especially in the culinary area, what we really found is if there are certain types of produce or plants that you would like to have, but they're seasonal, this is a place where all of a sudden you can get those types of plants, those types of produce, those types of products year round. This is something where you can be growing it even though it's not in season in your area, and you don't have to pay a higher cost for the shipping it in. You can make it yourself, you can grow it yourself. And a lot of times within that culinary, there are sometimes too where some grocery stores or some places where you get your food from, they don't have certain types of produce that you would like to have. You would like to have your students be able to try and experiment with. This allows you some of that food shortage of even when and how much you can get. It allows you to kind of be in control of that situation. So there's some really neat opportunities here with being able to grow your own food that kind of puts you in the driver's seat as well with hydroponics. Another piece of hydroponics, and I touched on it a little bit here, is that ability to grow in a faster and a more timely opportunity. So one of the things we found, and what hydroponics has really been neat with a lot of different growing methods, is that it reduces the time between the planting and the harvesting. And the reason is because you have be able to control the variables. You are deciding how much light and how often the light, or the sun, if you want to say, the grow lights are going to be helping grow the produce. You help and decide how much water and nutrients are going to be used. And you can also change that and tweak that to try to get it so it's the best possible option. So then your grow rates are at the fastest that they can do. We'll talk a little bit later about some of those kind of focuses of the timing and how quickly you can get to the ability to produce and harvest your plants. The other piece is some biosecurity, and again, environmental factors can cause problems to your growing. By having this controlled environment, this closed environment, all of a sudden you can kind of move away from the concerns that sometimes the weather may have. Or if you're in a classroom and you're expecting something to grow and it doesn't, that can put you out of the next lesson or the next things you're trying to teach, excuse me. And so this helps with that world and being able to help you in that sense. The last one here is again, the ability to really test and experiment with your students. So being able to show and test is something that can really help you in this case allows you to grow your produce as you want to do it. Now, the problem that can happen there is with that testability, you may sometimes not grow it as you thought you did. And so there's learning opportunities that come from that. You may experiment and it doesn't work, allowing again for a rich opportunity for students to really think about and critical think, why didn't it work? Or maybe you create something that you didn't know was even possible and that just opens up new things. So there's allowing you to challenge new and different growing methodologies and allowing you to seek out what are the problems and how do you fix those problems. So there's a wealth of opportunity for growing in this world and being able to work with that. So want to talk a little bit about our kind of 5 keys to starting a hydroponic system. So want to kind of go in here a little bit now, and those are kind of some, as you kind of ping down the list there, just some things of why hydroponics might be a possible thing or a positive thing that you might want to use, but want to talk through, okay, how do you get something like this started? What is some ways that you really start a program and get into that? So want to begin with kind of stepping you through the startup process. So again, just to walk through everyone and kind of look through this is how do you get started? Well, in this case, you need to have that, that growing structure. Okay, so in this case, we have our hydroponic system where you're going to need things like lights. It has to have grow lights, the ability to actually, the right visual lighting, the rays that you need, so then you can actually have the plants to be able to grow. Next thing you're gonna need is fans. The reason for this is you need to have that that movement of the wind to be able to strengthen your plants, make sure that they are growing properly, and really keeping them healthy in that sense. Now, sometimes in this closed environment too, it can come about, and sometimes people say, you know, well, other problems can happen. So mold is a good example, or maybe you do get a certain type of fly or insect that could be a problem for this. The thing about that then too is those are all things in a closed environment. In this opportunity, you can start and really focus in on, and I would say, less variables. So there are ways to prevent those. There are ways to be able to do that. When we have our hydroponic systems, one of the things that will cause things like algae or molds or things of that nature is your temperature, your amount of light that you're letting into your onto your water, things of that nature. And so there's ways that you can work through that and try to reduce some of that in a closed system. Now, you're always going to have some sort of challenge that you have to work through, but again, it's that learning opportunity, that ability that can help. And that's where then again, water pumps is another thing, being able to circulate the water, but not only the water but also the nutrients. So you have to put the nutrients in and be able to circulate it. So working through kind of this understanding of a hydroponic system, and again, these are the key variables. There are some other variables, but really the main variables of kind of growing your plants. One of the things then that we want to talk about is, okay, if you're interested in this, how would you get started? So in this case, one, we really would encourage you, and we say do your research. And we have some great opportunities in our hydroponic systems to be able to see what it does, be able to see how it works, be able to show all of those features here. But really what we say is you need to learn what is available, what will work for you. Now, the hydroponic units from Reality Works are shelf-based. Part of that purpose is then so you can fit them in your classroom. So a lot of times if you have a greenhouse, greenhouses can be very full. So again, this is something that can, on wheels, you can slide it in and put it into a place in your classroom. I'm sorry, in your greenhouse. So it is a space saver. It fits very nicely. Okay, there are bigger, different types of hydroponic units that are very large, very, you know, I guess kind of a larger footprints, take more area up, and that is fine as well. It's really learn what's available and what works for you. Because that's the second thing, is learn what your time and your space limitations are. Because one of the things you have to look at is, okay, it is something that is going to take some time. It is going to be something that you will be working through in the sense of your space limitations, where this is going to have to sit here for 20 days, 30 days, 40 days for the whole harvest of your plants. So what kind of space do I have to give to this? And then also think about the outcomes you're looking to accomplish. So, some of these uh, outcomes could be, well, I want my students to see the growing process. I want my students to experiment and see if they can change an outcome or grow something faster or see if it can grow in this type of method of growing. So what are you trying to accomplish? Is it something where, hey, I want certain types of plants so then I can then make salads or can make something with this, and my students can eat that? Is it something where I am wanting my students just to understand photosynthesis, just to understand the whole growing process? And so this is how we're going to do it because we can do it in a hands-on manner. What are you looking for, and how are you going to be showing that? And there's ways to also do this with hydroponic systems too, and especially now with our remote learning, if you can get this started, you can do webcams, so you can show the growth and have students go on and be able to see the growth day after day and be able to do some laps growing. There's a lot of different options there that can help you in that, but really do your research. There's YouTube videos, there's books. It's a big piece, and as we come into the summer months, now might be the time to start looking and doing some of that research. Next one is create a plan. So, part of this plan is, okay, what do I want to start growing? And, and kind of looking at, okay, if I start in the fall and I'm going to do it during the school year, what does that look like? How many different times can I grow? And so with our visual here, days to maturation, some of these can take 30 days. Some of them can take, different types of plants can take 50 days, 60 days. How many turns, if you want to say, how many times can we harvest different types of plants? That might decide, okay, I'm going to totally focus on these types of plants. Or, you know what, I want a variation because some I want to be growing for a while. I move those out, put new stuff in. Some will still be in the plant sites there. And so what is your kind of growing date and when's your harvest date? And then a big piece is, what materials do you need? Now, again, the great thing about the hydroponics is that there is kind of less focus on soil and soil nutrients and more focus on your water levels, your amount of nutrients you put in the water. There's also some of those features there that can also be checked on, that you would look at, in this case, materials that you would say, hey, I need, these 5-6 materials, and that's going to keep me going, versus, okay, something in the, a outdoor environment, there's a lot of different things that could be needed, and changing soil and stuff like that. So this really kind of reduces the number of different variables. And so that's the thing where you can start looking and saying, okay, what are the main things? Now, give you an example, once you get your system, you're going to need nutrients for it. And there's a lot of different types of liquid nutrients that you can put into water. You just need to be able to do the math and know how much to give, and then also to trial and error, check those different things. It's also something where you'll need to be able to replenish the water and change the water or add water, because one of the things that will happen is that you'll have some humidity and some the water will just evaporate, and so you have to continue to do that. But a lot of it, then again, it reduces the amount of materials that you're going to need as you kind of go through and look at that. So creating a plan, and then also, what are your expectations for your students? What jobs or are different things that you want them to be a part of? How do they help the process in itself too? Next one here is expect challenges and triumphs. So in this case, growth happens. And one of the things with growth is that there's going to be some trials, there's going to be some errors that are made, and that is going to be tough at some place because it's not going to be perfect. And so you have to work through, okay, if things fail or if things don't go exactly how I want, well, what is the learning opportunities there? What are the things that, if it all goes really well, what are we going to do with that? What are those triumphs? And then again, share those experiences. And sometimes a great experience and a learning experience can be that trial or that challenge as much as it is that triumph. So really the big key here is that there are going to be some hiccups, some things. One of the things we found from some of our customers is they were right in the middle of growing season when they had to leave their classroom for COVID-19, and so they had to stop growing for that time, and they will pick it up, or they brought them home to be able to do that again. So there are some things there, and share those experiences with your students because it's a great learning opportunity. Now, we're going to talk with one of our experts at Reality Works here, and that is our fourth piece, and that's learn from others. So I did a video chat yesterday with our lead test engineer, David Brack. And one of the things that he talks about is just his experience with growing. He's been growing and using our systems for the last year with a lot of different plants, a lot of different produce, everything from butternut lettuce to cucumbers and sugar peas, and just goes down the list, trying different things, growing them, seeing how they work, because one of the things we do is we test and retest, making sure that these products work well. So wanted to just share a little video with his interaction with me, asking him some of the questions that he has found and things that he has seen as he grows with hydroponics. How many different plants have you grown in the last year, would you say?
It's between 20 and 30 different types of plants.
Okay. So 20 to 30 different types of produce that you've grown with the hydroponic systems. And on average, what would you say a growing time would be for these plants? From putting the seedling into the system to actually harvesting them?
The quickest are your leafy green type plants, mm-hmm. The microgreens, the arugula, mm-hmm. And then the lettuces like black seeded, ruby red, butter crunch type of lettuces. They all took about 22 to 26 days from when you put it in the system until when you harvest.
Really? Wow. So within about 26 days or just under a month, you can have lettuce or some sort of leafy green to be able to harvest. That's pretty awesome. So what was the best plant or produce that you have grown or you've seen grown in your experience?
It's definitely the leafy greens tend to grow best in the plant lab type of a growing system. Mm-hmm. The lettuces, of course, already mentioned, but the herbs as well. I do need to mention those. Cilantro, dill. Make a great pesto sauce with it.
So that's awesome. So you can do kind of that culinary thing where you can do herbs and you can do not just lettuce, which probably a lot of people think, oh, it's for lettuce, but there's a lot of different things. What's the most unique thing that you've seen?
Growing some of the flowering type plants, jalapeno peppers and cucumbers. Now you can't do a whole shelf of the cucumbers, but you can certainly put a couple on the side and train the vines.
Okay.
And you have to pollinate. I used a brush to pollinate the cucumbers, and the jalapenos I used a pipe cleaner.
Really? Huh.
Yes. And there are sexes actually to the plant. I mean, some blossoms have the male portion and some blossoms have the female portion. So you have to identify that. So it's a great learning tool as well.
I was going to say, that sounds like a great learning opportunity where you're talking about, the growing of them, but then also pollinating them so you can get into that world, how they all work. So, wow, that's pretty interesting from that side. And then just to be able to walk away with, I'm not a jalapeno person, but people who like those, they can grow that right there and have them to be able to see how they grow too. Huh.
Absolutely.
Very interesting.
You think about the other learning opportunities on this. It's the water pH level, it's the nutrient levels, how much do I need to add to the system, the journal taking. So it's all of that type of work too. It's just a fantastic learning tool.
Yeah, so it gives students a breadth of opportunity to try different things, to learn about, to understand about, and then really see from, seed to the plate what they are growing and then what they're going to be eating. So very cool.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, you start the seeds off in a germination dome,
Hmm.
and you can record how many days it takes till germination. And then, yes, after you start seeing a root coming out of the bottom of the rock wool, you place it inside of the hydroponic system and journal all this stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really it's fun while you test in my instance, but it'll be
Yeah.
fun while you learn for all of our customers.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, I mean, if you're looking at 20 to 30 different types of produce that you can create from this and plants that you can do, I mean, there's just a varied degree of opportunity there to learn in that world. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
so let me ask you this. What are some plants that didn't work well in a hydroponic system? Because I know not everything will work well. So,
In our systems, it was the tuber type plants. I
okay.
believe that's the correct word for it. It's,
Hmm.
like carrots, radishes. I didn't personally try potatoes, but I would
Mm-hmm.
not recommend potatoes either. But
Okay.
yes, those
And
didn't work.
and those are kind of things that grow down, like usually into the soil in that world, where hydroponics is really growing upward in that sense. So I could see why those would be. So you won't be able to do those types, but there's a plethora of other different things, that you were able to, from tomatoes and cucumbers to lettuces to, different types of kale and different types of plants in that world. So,
Yeah, yeah, sweet peas and
huh.
bush beans. It's great. It's fun.
Okay.
Yep.
Huh. And it sounds like it, where you can just, you can use these to kind of test your skill, but also, I mean, it's a challenge. So that then kind of is some of the features that Dave wanted to kind of share with us, is that there's some product that can just grow really, really well. And then there are some where, again, talking about the tubulars, things that are growing in the soil, it's not going to work as well. So again, that kind of trial and error, but also testing, and then also asking the experts, looking to see how you can get help and understanding what is the best way to do some of these things. As he stated, and he gave a antidote to me of one of the things that we found is that we can reduce the time of growing lettuce to about 25 days. So that allows, as you do it over and over again, to get more crops throughout a year's time. Another thing is that there are certain types like red shard lettuce, where it's something where you can actually harvest it, and after you harvest it, if you leave the roots for a while, it will start growing again. And so there's different things that you can work with and interact with your students, and get them to understand what's happening in that world. The last one that I wanted to share with is really just do it. Do it is the what do you need to do? And again, after you've done 1 through 4, those kind of key things of doing your research, checking with the experts, talking, looking at different ways to do that, is start the process. You've done your plan, you've worked with that. So now, create a space to start growing. Incorporate the hydroponic growing system that works best for you, and then act on your plan. Get going and trying it, because again, that trial and error will be something that, again, can also show your students or who you're working with that, yeah, by doing this is how we find out, we figure it out. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to do that, but also work in a way that works well for you. So really understand what you're looking for, how you're going to do it. And then there are systems out there that can really help you be successful every single time. And that's where I kind of want to start working and going with us now in the last time here, is there are great learning opportunities, and we have some products that can help you in that world. We have some systems, and we want to show you the curriculum that our systems include. So one of the things that I'm seeing is are there different ways that can be helpful in this world? And yes, one of the things that I want to share with you is our hydroponic curriculum and what we have to offer. So one of the things that can help you is we have a user guide that walks you through all the steps of how to get started, what nutrients to use, what types of, how long you should be germinating and getting your seedlings ready, and walking through all those different things. In this case here, some focused, or how we kind of create our lessons is we always have a focus to get those students' attentions. We then get into a learn, and we finish with a review. And so really the curriculum here, again, it is online for you. It is free, so you can go and grab our curriculum and use it. You can grab our user guides, and the link is right here for the resource of how to grow this in school and help you in that world. And so want to just walk through some of those things. So our focus here is, what is hydroponics, the types of hydroponics that you can use, and then the main parts of the system. So in this case, it might start with kind of, what do you need to grow plants and grow produce? And for some students, it's going to be, you need soil, you need sunlight, things of that nature. This is where you can change that and ask those questions, and go into and actually kind of say, no, there's other ways that, and other places that you can get this information, and do this type of growing without using soil whatsoever. So there's other variables, weather, climate, biodiversity, that you can talk about. And that then leads into, okay, how do you grow with only using water and nutrients and not including soil? How do you do it in a different system where it's not always rows in the ground, but it might be rows on a shelf? It might be in other ways to do that. So this then gets in that learning with the types of system. And so our curriculum and our PowerPoint slides walks through the different types of systems, from a deep water culture to ebb and flow system, drip system, allowing you to be able to look at, okay, what are the variables? Why would this work better than that? What is the kind of focus that we would say is best for our system? What are you going to kind of be working? So there's the nutrient film technique, allowing you to kind of see what kind of things and ways that you are growing. Well, what works best, and why would you kind of use one over the other? There's also other types of learning here, things like aeroponics and aquaponics. Ours are hydroponics, but there are other ones there for you to be able to use. So the aeroponics and the aquaponics are also other things to walk through and say, is that something that would be interesting and helpful to use? So in this case then, kind of a review is then, okay, the parts of the hydroponic system. And we have in-depth curriculum and also PowerPoints talking about all the different pieces, from, lighting. What kind of lighting do you need your system to have? Grow medium, okay? It has to sit, the seed has to sit in something. And so in this case, it's not soil. So things like rock wool and other options there to actually hold that seed in place. And then use the water and gain the water and the nutrients. So water, nutrients, and then airflow and wind and the movement and oxidization of the water and all these different pieces. So that is something that helps in, gives that. And again, this is a free resource, and we will send you this email with all the links so you can go right to it. And I'll also tell you about it at the end of our little talk here as well. So another feature here, another thing, is just telling you about our products. So RealityWorks this year was awarded a world-changing idea award from Fast Company for our hydroponic systems. And we have two different options for two different growing variables. So the first one that we have is our plant lab unit. This is a smaller unit. It is 33 plant sites, and every single shelf here has its own water and nutrient tank, allowing you to have 3 different shelving units here where you can put different nutrients, different amount of water in each one, allowing you to grow different things. Some produce and plants need more nutrients, some need less, and so you can grow different types of produce on each shelf here, or you can put the same in on every single shelf and be able to grow that way as well. So that is one of our lab units here. And again, it has rollers and it can fit nicely in a classroom into a greenhouse area. The other one is our plant producer. This is a much larger unit. It has 42 plant sites. It has a programmability, so you can monitor and sensor in the sense of the lights on and off, how much sunlight you want it to have, how much wind, and using the fans that you want to be able to movement here. But in this case, it has one tank at the bottom. And so that is moving through each level here. So your nutrients is much more production focused here. So being able to produce a lot of different vegetation at using the same type of water and and nutrients for that product. But two different options that we have that allows you to grow produce. So as we finish up here, how do you get these resources that can maybe get you started into a program of your own? So again, our classroom resources, you go to realityworks.com, and then you can go in and we have it in our websites here. You can get it in the agriculture world. We also have our again, COVID-19 response, where if you click on this page here, and this is realityworks.com, you will go right in, and again, your resources, you go down to your guides and curriculum, you click on that, and it will come down here, and it gives you your different options to be able to go in and be able to find it. So we have hydroponics and plant science. All you have to do is click on that, and it'll bring you right into that world. Also, want to encourage you again to go to our hydroponics website, again, right on realityworks.com. And what that allows you is we have this hydroponics education implementation. All right. When you click on that, all you have to do is download the hydroponics implementation guide, and a lot of the things that we talked about today, that helps you kind of get your step by step, some of the pieces of, okay, I'm interested in this, what do I need to know? It gives you those things of, you know, nutrients, your lights, your wind, all the different pieces of the puzzle, kind of walking you through, again, getting you ready for that planning of being able to do your what you're looking for. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate what you're doing. You know, the big piece here is we appreciate the hard work that you have, that you are doing, and ask that you just keep on keeping on, keep on doing the hard work. We really appreciate all that you are accomplishing. And again, we're here to help in any way possible. Thank you for your time.